In the heart of the forest dwells a delicate gardener who appreciates solitude over all things. Sadly, the dangerous flora and fauna it cultivates are desired by many. To preserve the hidden world it has created for itself, it trades its tools for a deadly blade without hesitation. One day, the survivors gathered around an old crone that had decided to share a secret. In her foolish youth, she had played inside a foul-smelling carved ball. Before she knew what had happened, the ball rolled away with her trapped inside. She tumbled in its stomach-churning darkness for what seemed like days. The ball had rolled to a sudden halt. She crawled out into a hushed glade. Strange plants twisted up between her grasping fingers and bloomed in lurid colors. It came soundlessly from the trees. Thorny, flowering vines burst from the ground where it had tread, and the glade was aglow from its strange light. Although she swore never to reveal her meeting with the strange knight, in her dotage she could not resist the temptation to visit the glade again. The survivors followed her into the dark. Along the way, she told them of the glade's seductive beauty and the wondrous creature that guarded it. Finally, they reached a gleaming gate that set the keen survivors' teeth on edge, at once repulsing and pulling at something deep in the pits of their stomachs. The crone stood before it, determined. Her old skin sagged further, and her eyes filled with pain as the gate swung open. Painfully, the crone led them through the shifting forest to the glade. There, on its downy grasses, she lay down. The survivors gathered worriedly around her. With her final breath, a ghostly glowing flower burst from her papery lips, its delicate bloom fragrant with untold power. A party was formed to see if this old crone's tale was real. A secret garden could benefit the tribe. A hunting crew of Ginger Wood, Hansel Wolfram, Cholula Crystal, and Sebastian Goodsir was formed. Setting up camp to rest, Hansel has a nightmare. The mysterious knight from the story became the butcher, and it followed the crew back to camp and slaughtered everyone. But luckily, the savior, Shirley Sylvia Chestershire, fended it off. Until finally, Hansel envisions himself fighting right alongside the savior. But he was maniacal, and he hacked the butcher to pieces with a special cursed blade. When Hansel awoke, he found this very blade laying next to him. He understood its curse and his responsibility towards it, and became the Twilight Knight. The hunting party stumbled upon a strange statue in the middle of a clearing. After losing a game of nose goes, Sebastian Goodsir inspects the statue more closely. It looks like a man reaching out, made of stone. Sebastian touches the statue and screams as his body turns to stone. But the previously bestatued man suddenly becomes flesh and bone again, and he cries for the first time in ages. He explains his name is Fart Simpson, and that as payment for freeing him from his tomb, he will fight for Schmuckies. As for Sebastian, well, the nose goes. The party then went herb gathering. Everyone survived and got nice fresh acanthus for their troubles. The crew found a small copse of trees sitting on a hill in a clearing bearing shining red fruit. Losing a game of nose goes, Fart Simpson tries one of the fruit. His stomach feels savaged by the indigestion and he almost vomits. Meanwhile, everyone else thought the fruit was fine and belches loudly. The silence and darkness is broken by a glowing hum that whispers into their bones. The forest wants what it wants, and a large gate stands in the party's way. The gate seems to test them as they approach, and having deemed them begrudgingly worthy, it opens just enough for them to scrape by it. The survivors have just entered the abyssal woods. It was there that they found the Glade of Legend, an open field of glowing flowers in the darkness. However, when they approached, they were met with the guardian of this glade, the towering Flower Knight. This elegant creature danced through the attacks of the survivors, constantly parrying Fott's attacks and kicking him backwards. Were it not for a rule flub and forgetting to read the monster's traits, surely the Flower Knight would have destroyed this antsy crew. But it was Cholula's bow that struck this whimsical artist down once and for all. Using some of the flowers from the garden, Cholula made a vespertine arrow. They also picked two strange flowers that seemed to be laughing at them. Returning to camp after facing such terrors, the crew looked up and discovered a winter miracle. It was snowing. The returning survivors had a snowflake eating contest. Ginger ate the biggest snowflake, and it screamed in terror as she devoured it, while Hansel and Cholula came in close second. The issue was, it wasn't snowflakes. The survivors had just gone severely insane from the events of the journey. It was raining baby spiderlings, and Ginger just ate Stanley Kowalski, while everyone else ate spider after spider, except Fart, who simply screamed until he passed out. But they snapped out of it as a mysterious woman emerged from the darkness. There is a story about a darkness so dense and so deep that anyone who saw it was drawn into its inky depths. Story tells of a vast ocean in the depths of the darkness from which no shore is ever visible. Its murky waters teem with vegetation of a horrible sort, grasping roots and waving slimy leaves with razor-sharp thorns. Swimming among the dark water jungles is a squirming shadow of writhing tentacles. Its horror is such a burden on the minds of miserable trespassers that they cannot recall what they have seen. A chilling dread without form, the terror of its approach can be felt so intensely that it cannot be committed to memory. When she emerged from the dark water pool, she was shivering, desperately trying to speak as she choked on black water. Her pleading eyes desperately searched our faces, until they suddenly widened with horror as she looked out into the emptiness. Bitter, black tears rolled down her defeated face. She was too late. She fell slack at our feet, her lifeless body twisting and exploding in a shower of black ichor and red gore. Where did she come from? What did she give her life to tell us? The feeling of dread that followed her to the settlement would not lift. The next morning, after such traumatic events, the settlement awoke to a strange statue in the middle of camp. Unsure of where this strange statue came from or its purpose, they decided to worship it. This seemingly did nothing, but it did make everyone uneasy. The tribe innovated a settlement watch. Now that more and more dangers seemed to be emerging from the darkness, it was time to make sure nothing could sneak in unexpected. Planting the two laughing flowers, they emerged as two fully formed adult survivors, with horrifying flower faces. The tribe named these two Remy and Randall Walstead. Wembley Christensen, MD, being mostly blind, formed a nice relationship with Remy, and the two produced a child named Brogy Walstead. There are many mysteries surrounding the camp now. Hopefully the survivors can get ahead of them before the darkness overwhelms them.